Welcome back, everybody, to hopefully the last part of this issue. This is part 5 of issue 13. We're going to be cutting into a wall today. So, off camera so far, I've painted the base coat for the tube that's going to go in there, and I've done some preliminary checks on how I'm going to do this wall, but I wanted to walk you guys through what I was looking at. So, what I'm going to do, this is my brother's floor and his wall, and you can see I've already drilled a hole in here. That was just for test doing to make sure that I had the right size drill bit in my pin vise. And so what I did was I put this floor onto his wall, or his wall onto this floor, and I just drew a line, right? So you can see that line there. So it gives me a line. That's where the bottom cut's going to be. Okay, so now what I need to do is, I think, because this wall has holes in it here for the screws for this long wall to go into, I think what I'm going to do is go in 1/4 of an inch from here. So this is the piece that's going to go in here, and if we turn it around like this gives us a pretty good idea of how that's going to sit in there, at least where the height, that's going to tell us what the height is going to be. So let's get some of this stuff out of the road here, and we'll just measure in 1/4 inch to the edge of the floor, which should be the edge of the wall as well. And we'll just put that there. So this will be, I wish I could kind of hold that in place, but I can't. This will be the edge here. So we're going to cut 1/4 inch in, and if we measure this down, it's pretty much right at 1/4 inch from the top there. But the problem is, you can see it here. If I stand this up, the problem is this thing is not, it's curved, right? So all I know is I can go 1/4 inch down from here and 1/4 inch in. I do know that this is 2 3/4 inches wide. So basically, I know that I need to have here 1/4 inch in, and then 3 inches over from this wall, another line. I can easily mark the bottom, which I did. The top will be a lot more difficult because although I can go 1/4 inch here, I need to make sure I have a 90-degree angle and come over with a 90 degree. So I could probably use this once I get my side cuts in, and then come over 90 degrees. I don't have anything else that I can do a 90 degree with. So we need to get this mapped out. What I did here, and I'll do that with the rest of these. So these pieces here, normally on this other side, you've got these holes pre-drilled. I didn't want to have to try to drill these holes, figure out where I was going to put them and drill the holes. This seemed like too much work, so what I did was I'm going to just cut the little nipples off here, and then I'll just glue it down flat. So we'll go ahead and cut these other two off, so that way I don't forget. And you can see those little nipples there. You can see it better that way. We'll just cut those off, and then we'll get our sanding block out and sand that smooth. So I hope that I'm not going into too much detail doing these. I know that the last two videos was like 52 minutes and 43 minutes respectively, which is a lot bigger than I would like for them to be. I'd like to shoot for 30 minutes or less, and obviously I could have cut those down, had a whole other video. This would have been part 5 if I had done that. Um, but I'm not sure if you guys like that or if you guys feel like I'm doing too much detail or not. What we could do is go ahead and glue these in place. I think that wouldn't hurt anything. Before we do, I feel like we're probably going to have to clean out these holes here. I've already scraped these posts to make sure that all the stuff is off of there. But I haven't cleaned out these holes yet. There'll be a little bit of paint in them. So we'll just kind of clean these out just a little bit, just to help the glue stick. Okay, so we got those cleaned out, and I'm just gonna get some glue out here so we can tape this or glue this in place. So let's give ourselves a little drop. And I think what I'll do is I'm just gonna dip. Well, I can't really dip these, so the one side's taller than the other. So we'll go back to our micro brushes. It's a good thing these things were cheap. Alright, so we'll just get some glue on both sides here. And down we go. Get all these put in place. Be one less thing to worry about, right? That way, we won't be scrambling later on to make sure that happens. So, and I'm not going to bother, if you notice, I'm not putting in these little tubes underneath like the other one had on the other side. I'm not going to bother with those. I may actually use them for something else, some smaller tubes, or like the blue and gray wire. And the one picture that I saw was 2 gray wires that went across. So I may go ahead and put those two pieces across here, be 2 like gray wires. So the nice thing is these will all fit or sit flush on the floor, so that'll be good. So yeah, now this will be sitting like that, but oops, don't want to glue myself to this. But what I plan on doing is have the opening go right across the top of these. So this will be recessed back into the wall. So that I think that'll be kind of cool. Be like a little bump out. So we don't need this glue right now. And I think I mentioned I glued the base color on, or painted the base color on the big tube. I think last video I mentioned that I roughed up the edge to make sure that hopefully the primer will stick this time. I need something to prop this up on. So we're going to slide this way over here. I'm just using this 5th one out here just to kind of balance this on. And we're going to go 1/4 inch in. And I'm just going to put a mark here. 1/4 inch in there. And then, unfortunately, this has got centimeters on one side and standard on the other. So I can't. I might have to get my other glasses out just so I can see properly. So I can't just measure off both sides. So now we have that. We can draw. Come on now. Draw our little line here. On this side. There we go. And if we come in 3 inches from the edge, we can make our other marks. Oh, 3 inches from the edge. I was like, wow, those lines aren't lining up. This is why you measure twice and cut once. Because I was going to do 3 inches from this line here instead of 3 inches from the edge. And 1, 2. There we go. Now, if we turn it this way, we come in. I need a bigger workbench for this. 1/4 inch down. So I was trying to measure this, and it's not a decent size. So if I measure this right from the edge, it's a little bit less than 7/16. And I don't even know if we're into the 30 seconds. I can't quite tell. It's really hard to tell. But I do know that on this scale rule, if I go off of this side, and yeah, it was on this side. If I go off of this side and then measure in, this is how tall it is. It's at the 33.5 mark from the edge. But the problem is, oops, it helps if I show you. So it's at the 33.5 mark here. But the problem is, if you can see on this rule, the lines don't go all the way out to the edge. It stops here. And likewise, it doesn't start at the edge. So that's kind of a pain with this thing. You can't go right to the edge to measure anything. But I do know if you go to the 33.5 mark here, it's that far in. However far that is, and I've tried to check it here, and again, we're looking at right around, it's really close to 7/16 if I do this. And that's if I use my thumbnail as the stopping point. It's like right at 1 inch and 7/16 tall, which would be cool if that's the height, because I'd be okay with that. That would make my life easier to measure out for sure. So, but when I put this on here, it doesn't come out to that. So it could have been I was just looking at a little weird when I was measuring that. But I know that if I go down 1/4 inch, that works, and I can kind of show you that. So let's do that. Let's show you how I saw that. So we'll put our wall back in. All right, and then what we'll do is we'll put this in here, set it up on there. And if we get it right where we want it there, if we measure down, it's 1/4 inch down. So that works out well. So we have 1/4 inch, and I don't mind cutting it a little small, and then I can use files and stuff to tighten it back up, or open it back up a little bit. So here's, like I said, here's the problem. This is all by sight. I can't do it by measurements. So I just have to try to make sure that I have my rule at right here in the corner, right? So if you can see those two lines, I have my rule right in that corner on those lines. Helps if I maybe put it in the middle. Yeah, you can see those lines there. And if I just get it right there and try to get it as square as possible, then we should be good. Now I'll hold it down. There we go. That will be our opening, plus or minus a millimeter or so. So what we'll have to do next is figure out the best way to cut it out. I think I've got some cutting wheels for my Dremel, and I think I might go that route. That should make it a lot easier, but I'm just worried that I'll go crooked, so that I probably will cut it a bit short and um, short of the line, and then I'll use files and stuff to go out to the line. Um, so I think I'll cut this out off camera, and then you won't get a whole lot of listening to the Dremel spool up and all that kind of stuff. And so plus that way, if I have any flying discs, if a disc breaks or something, I don't want it to go through my phone or anything crazy like that. That would suck. So I'll do that. I'll cut this off camera. And then when we come back, I should have this cut, and I'll show you the test fitting of that. And then maybe, it'll probably, because I just painted the base coat, one of the things I did last time was I kind of didn't wait long enough, I think, for that base coat to fully cure before I painted the lines. So I think I won't paint those lines until tomorrow, and then we'll get those lines painted on, and then that will give us an opportunity to finish putting this part together. But in the meantime, we can get this all put together, so that'll be cool. So yeah, I'll come back when I have this cut out. Okay, let's just check this. And we hang up a little bit there. Let's finish this up a little bit. Clean up this edge ever so slightly, because there's only so much we can do, because there's no edge left. And there we go. There we go. So there we go. Alright, now let's check this. We're good there. Yep, we're good. Let's check this. Slides right in. Can we go up through? Yes, we can. Alright. So we go all the way through there. Now, let's take our two pieces of our wall and see if that'll go in there. Nope. Well, a little bit more trimming to do. It'll be easier to put them in side by side, but I don't think they're going to fit. So a little more trimming left or right to do, and then we'll be good to go. Okay, well, hello, welcome back. So I'm just finishing up making my hole, and let me tell you, but I'll tell you, using a Dremel on plastic, essentially it would cut through it fine, except it wasn't so much cutting, more as melting. And when I got done, there was a lot of slag everywhere. And the big problem with that was the cleanup, but also I had a hard time following the line, so I was really concerned. If you notice here, see if you can notice this. I don't know if you can notice this part right here is pretty dipped down. I got a little out of control, and this part was much bigger, but because I couldn't see the lines, I decided, well, better err on the side of caution. Luckily, I was able to square it off for the most part. This side might be a little bit out of whack, but I don't know if you'll notice. Just using the file, and I've been filing for last half hour, 45 minutes, and you saw there at the end part my near final fitment. So the idea will be that it'll go in this way, and it's going to sit down inside there like this, and so I can glue this part up here if I wanted to, and whatnot, but it'll sit down inside there, and then the tube will be here, and then I'll use that sign, this for sale sign. I'll use this material to make walls that'll come all the way around through the back here. I'll probably leave the top open, just so it can get a little bit of ambient light from everything else. I'm not going to light this, at least not initially anyway. I might come back after the fact and something sparked my fancy and I'll light it then. But for now, this will fit in there just fine. And as you heard, excuse me, I'm gonna need to take just a little bit more off of one of these sides, and I'll probably take it off. Pardon me. Probably take it off of this side. It doesn't have to be very much. These wall pieces, I can almost get two of these wall pieces along with this through the hole, so it doesn't have to be very much. But I'll spend some extra time and try to get that off of there. There's bits that you can use for the Dremel that I can grind that off, but I feel like it'd be so out of control that I might have a hard time doing it neatly. So, and I want to try to keep the square edges and everything. Luckily, this top edge is fairly square, so that's good. This bottom edge doesn't matter because you'll never see it. So it's really the sides that I need to be square and the top. So as long as those are all square, then I'm good to go. And then, like I said, the wall will be able to fill in any kind of minor gap that there is. So I don't know if you guys can see all the dust. And this is after cleaning a lot of the dust off, but I had dust everywhere. And this file, surprised it's filing anything right now. It's probably pretty packed with stuff. I mean, if I were to go clean it, and to clean these with plastic, what you do is you go boil them, and you put them in boiling water, and helps release all the plastic off of it. So maybe if I clean this, I'll have better luck. But as of right now, I'll finish up just this fine tuning, and then once I get all the fine tuning done, and I know that it'll fit in there with the walls, I'll get the walls built, and I'm just gonna go the same height as these pillars. I'd much rather get this tube glued in place first, and then after that, then we'll build the walls, and then it's just a matter of gluing it in place. So with that, I know I talked a lot. I'll try to clean some of that up, but yeah, so there you go. I made a hole. Woohoo! All right, thanks everybody. I'll catch you when the tube is dry and we can put that on, and then we'll start doing the walls. Okay, welcome back. So here we are. I have my wall pieces all masked and painted. So let's go ahead and get these off so we can start putting these together. I'm excited about this. Okay, So I have all the masking off, and so how these pieces are going to go on is going to be like this. And you can see when they go on, you can't see any of the white, but I left that white so that way I can put some glue here and a glue along here, and that'll hold that in place. Not to mention, I took these pieces, and now I talked about this, so what I took was this square rod, and I cut, about inch-long pieces, and then I took my knife, here it is, just kind of demonstrate here. So I took my knife, and I put it in the corner, and I just sliced down the corner all the way down that inch-long piece, and then I turned it 180 degrees and sliced the opposite corner. And then after I did that, I took my sanding stick and cleaned the edges so I'd have nice gluable surfaces. So the idea is for this is when we put this in place like this, I will be able to use this piece as a corner to glue these both together, right? So I should be able to glue these together separately and then attach them onto here after the fact. So now that we have all of our pieces, I think the first thing we're going to do is get some glue out, and we're going to glue this in place, and that will be an important first step. I did kind of test fit this down, and it doesn't sit 100% exactly the way that I would like it to, but you'll notice from the picture this is pretty close. You don't get to see the other end of that yellow there because it's hidden behind this pillar, but that's pretty close to what it's supposed to look like. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this glued down. And I'm going to use a fair amount of glue on this. So we'll put a decent dollop down there. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put the glue on here, and then I'll set this in place and have to hold it. Okay. Make sure we get this right way around. And down we go. So the interesting thing about this piece is you'll notice there's a slight notch in the red here by my thumb, this thumb here, and then obviously that yellow bit. Everything else, there may have been a notch in this other red band, but I couldn't tell for sure, so I didn't put it in. Let me tell you, it was quite the pain to put that notch in there, and the yellow was every bit as much of a pain to put in. So, all right, hopefully that is glued, and hopefully that's going to set up nicely. Unfortunately, I didn't get as much of the white in the glue as I wanted, but as long as there's some there, that's all that matters. Okay, so putting these walls together, this is going to be a challenge to say the least. So I think what I might do is just go ahead and attach one of these pieces here first, and then I can come back in and put this wall piece in there. And then I'll do that on both sides. So let's do that first. And in case you're curious, I did clean this. When I sanded it, I mentioned that I sanded off the printing that was already on there from it being a sign, and obviously I didn't sand it the best because you can still see some of that color. And I did wash it, so this is clean. It's just slightly stained. So cutting these pieces out, I went with, I did the length correctly for the long piece, the back wall. The length was easy enough because it was 2 3/4 inches. The height was more of a guess, and I used the side pieces, so I knew that it was somewhere around 1 7/16. So I went ahead and cut it at 1 1/2, and then I would stick one of these side pieces up on the side and then go, oh, okay, so it's a little long, and then I would cut that and then cut a little bit off and then try it again and cut a little bit off. So it was basically a big trial and error. So now what we got to do is figure out which side goes where. So this side will go here, and I think I'll put the glue on the back here. All right, so stand you up. Try not to glue my finger to it, and not very successful at gluing my thumb to it, actually. All right, so there's that piece. And like I said, most of this is going to be hidden anyway, so I don't quite remember how much, because basically to see the inside, you pull part of the top off, and I don't quite remember how big that opening is that you pull off. There we go. So I don't know how much, like looking down into this part, you'll be able to see. For all I know, you won't be able to see any of it. So there is our back walls, and that's going to go on there just like that. All right. So this is going to be the stressful part, and I think we're going to need more glue. And I think what I'm going to do is put out a piece of tape for this to set on, just because I don't want any glue to kind of run out the bottom and have it get glued to my mat. So we're going to do that. And then I think what we should probably do, unfortunately, we're going to have to kind of go quick. So I'm just going to put some glue along here. And I don't think I need as much as I was using before on the sides. So we'll put some glue along here. And then up through here. Alright. And then just a matter of pushing this all into place and getting it to stick. again, without sticking my fingers to anything. So you'll notice, obviously, you can see the white edges, and I'll come back with paint and hand paint that. I have no good way to stand these things up. There we go. You know what? I think I'll glue this side in first, and then that should get me pretty close to the way I want this other side. Oh, I don't know about you guys, but my heart's pounding. Alright. And I'm going to need more glue. No, stay down. Stay glued. Alright, I'm going to give it just a few minutes here. Hopefully that sets up nicely. It's not. I need more glue. Either my glue's not touching, or it's getting old and dry. One thing about super glue, it doesn't start the curing process until it gets air. So potentially maybe it gets old and just doesn't adhere as well or something. Well, it's sticking to my freaking thumbs. Alright. There we go. That's better. I think that's going to adhere much better. Okay. So we can't balance this in some way. Like that. Haha. Jeez. The manipulation's ridiculous around here. There we go. Okay. So, this one's going to be a super challenge. I gotta get this thing turned just right so I can see what I'm doing. Okay. That one went. Alright, hopefully this next one goes in just as easy. So I don't know if you saw that. So I put a little bit on here first, and then put a little bit on the back side of the wall. And I just kind of slid it in place. And this one's not going to work. I was afraid of that. So I cut this one kind of crooked. Let's see if we can adjust fire on the fly. There we go. Alright. Let's do all this over again. Fresh glue. Fresh glue. Alright. There we go. Alright. So, the wall's not 100% perfect. There is gaps here and that kind of thing. In my mind's eye, I envisioned, you see this gap right here? You see back through there. There you go. So in my mind's eye, I envisioned actually filling this in with some putty and finishing it off that way. I think what I'm going to do, because this is essentially done, just the final touch up of the paint. This side doesn't really need much putty. I could just paint this and be good. This side, potentially the putty, mostly because this leg is like a bit crooked, but it's not going to go anywhere else now that it's all glued in place. So I could fill this in with some putty and then come back in and touch up the paint. But what I'm worried about is trying to sand that corner and get it done right. So let's see how this looks on the full model piece. Let me get this adjusted and I'll show you when it's all done. Okay, so there we go. We have both sides now. We have this side that is what comes with the magazine and the model, and then we have this side that I completely fabricated and whatnot just off of my own head. And I think it looks pretty cool. There is a bit of a gap down on the bottom side of the thing here, but I don't think there's anything I can really do about that. I could put something back through here just to kind of hide that gap, which is always possible, but I don't think it's really going to be that noticeable. So, what do you guys think? I think that will be the end of this. I think anything else that I do, which obviously touching up this paint and all that kind of stuff, is going to be stuff that I do off camera. But anything I do, I'll have to take this wall back out. But I wanted you guys to see that while it was in here. And I think it came out really, really well. The only thing this will be missing is some barrels and some boxes and stuff, which I'm on the lookout for some, but I don't know how easily I'm going to be able to find any. But yeah, I think that I'm pretty pleased. I'm very happy with how that came out. And I don't know if I could be any happier. So, very happy. So, hopefully you guys liked it. I don't know if you guys realize just how stressed I was about doing particularly the tube and stuff, and the idea of cutting the hole in the wall and getting it square and all that kind of stuff. So many opportunities for screwing up. I think I did a really good job of cutting this down and splicing it back together. Looking at it now, it looks like that's the way the piece came always. I mean, you can't tell that it was spliced together from this angle. Only if we look at it from down here can we see where that was spliced together with that extra piece of strengthening plastic there. So I am very happy with how that came out. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. And finally, we got to the end of issue 13. We'll be able to move on to something else. You never know. Issue 14 might be this next wall. I have no idea. Let's just have a quick look at what parts are coming. So the parts is that next wall for issue 14. And we get some more framework and some more of the plating and all that kind of stuff. But we got the little thing that goes in here. Now, if it's this wall, I am planning on doing some fabricating on that as well, just because I just don't like that plain wall right there. But we'll see how that goes. So we'll see you in the next one. And may the force be with you always.